Hello and welcome to another edition of the Back Nine Report. We're happy once again to have Mike May with us. Mike, how's things going with you down in Florida this week? Well, you're sleeping in your own bed. That's going to be strange for you, doesn't it?
Yes, I've been on the road for almost 9 consecutive weeks, and but I'm comfortable at home and just basking in the glory of a local winner of a big golf tournament. We'll get to that later.
Yes, we will. Matter of fact, let's let that's our top story tonight. So let's just jump right in. We had the PGA Championship last weekend, the second major of the year. Brooks Koepka got it done. Your buddy, he blew the 54-hole lead at the Masters last month, but he certainly didn't blow it this week. This was his third PGA Championship win to go with two U.S. Opens, total of five majors, Mike. First place check of over 3 million, plus maybe more importantly, is now exempt into all four majors for another 5 years through 2028. If he leaves the LIV after his contract is up in 2024 season, will he return to the PGA Tour or will the LIV give him even more guarantees to get him to stay on? Mike, what's your thought about Brooks Koepka winning the PGA Championship?
Well, I think I'm delighted for him. I'm delighted for Team Kepka. He's been through some injuries that would sideline the vast majority of people. So his stick-to-itiveness and willingness to just keep working at it and let Father Time take care of things. But good for him, and good for golf. He is a true American champion, and he's back in the world stage and amongst the best players in the world, in my opinion.
Yeah, we saw him on the Full Swing show talking about that he jumped to the LIV because he just felt he couldn't compete because of his injuries. And so he was really low and very negative. But what we saw at the Masters for 3 rounds was a guy that's just as good as anybody else in the world, probably even a little bit better. He faltered on Sunday, but there were some outside things there that maybe got to him a little bit. But that didn't happen yesterday, and he played a fantastic round. If he did make a bogey, boom, he jumped right back out of birdie to get it back. Just stayed ahead of Victor, just stayed ahead of Scheffler. So it was a really good win. But Mike, I don't know. Should we be talking about Brooks Koepka as one of the all-time greats now with 5 major wins? That puts him with like James Braid, J.H. Taylor, Byron Nelson, Peter Thompson, and Seve, for goodness sake. Right there with Seve. Guys with 6 majors just ahead of him, Phil Mickelson, Nick Faldo, and Lee Trevino. One more, man. I mean, he's only got 11 guys now that have won more majors than he has. Plus, he now is ahead of all his contemporaries. Rory only has 4 majors, Spieth with 3, Morikawa 2, Dustin Johnson 2. There's a guy that just amazes me. That guy should have 5 or 6 major championships. Justin Thomas has 2, both PGA championships. Bubba Watson has 2, still playing a little bit on the LIV. This is very heady company that Brooks Koepka finds himself in. He just turned 33. He's guaranteed entrance into the World Golf Hall of Fame when eligible. He seems to be in good health now. He's playing less on the LIV. Do you think maybe playing a little bit less on the LIV has helped him get back maybe to where he's at?
Well, not only is he playing fewer tournaments, they're playing fewer rounds. So I think the wear and tear in his body is not as great as it would be on the PGA Tour, though the travel is a little bit more demanding. They're overseas more than they are on the PGA Tour, but I think the time away has given him a chance to heal, get stronger mentally, physically, and he's as mentally strong as anyone on tour, and his physical attributes are second to none. They're on display. Brooks won those first four majors so quickly, it was almost like a flash. But we were talking this morning, if you think about it, McIlroy had 4 majors before Brooks had his first, and now Brooks has 5, and he's trending in the right direction, and he's got to be one of the favorites going into the U.S. Open at L.A., and he desperately would love to win a British Open or an Open Championship, as we say it. So Brooks is trending in the right direction, and again, there's Ryder Cup discussions, and we'll probably get to that later.
Yeah, I mean, he finished runner up at the Masters and he did have a 54-hole lead. I mean, we could be looking at a situation where he could have both majors this year and going into LA for the US Open with, as the only guy with a shot to win the Grand Slam. I don't know if that'll ever happen, but man, he is really on a roll right now. He's jumped up to like 11th or 14th or something like that in the official world golf ranking. So even though he's playing on the LIV and not getting any points, he's able to get him playing in these majors. So, uh, let's take one more thing before we leave Brooks. So he's now 33. So let's give him 10 years. Okay. Let's say he could win majors up through he's 43. That's 10 years. That's 40 chances at winning a major. He could easily win 3 or 4 of those things, don't you think?
I think he could win another 5 and get to 10, and that puts him in rarefied air. This is a unique year. It's 70 years ago. Mr. Hogan won 3 majors in a year. Only 2 golfers have won 3 majors in 1 year. Tiger being one, Ben Hogan the other one, back in 1953. Will Brooks come and win the U.S. Open and the Open Championship, and also get to that 3 wins in 1 year? He's won 2 U.S. Opens. He understands how to play those courses. Mentally, he feels as if he's better than 95% of the field, and the Open Championship is something that he's desperately to win. He's got an Irish caddy, and so it's. But the competition is tough. I mean, he won by 2 shots, the slimmest of margins. And had it not been for Scheffler's collapse on Saturday, we might have been looking at a closer match down the stretch. But Brooks looked strong mentally, physically. The few times he made a bogey didn't fluster him. He didn't try to make up for it. Just took his medicine, as they say, and moved on. And again, had a great round of 67.
You mentioned his caddy, and you said he's from Ireland, which he is. But just so most golf comes through Ohio because it is the center of the golf universe, and he did play his collegiate golf at the University of Toledo. So just so there's an Ohio connection there, as well
You're
as the
saying
Palm Beach.
Ricky Elliott played golf at the University of Toledo?
He did, yes.
I'm impressed. Of course, Brooks played golf at Florida State in the Sunshine State. So, Florida and Toledo have this little back and forth. We play more golf, but maybe you've got the best golf.
We got quality up here, buddy. We got quality. Hey, we got to talk about Michael Block. Oh my goodness, what a story. A PGA pro from Southern California, plays with the big boys, isn't able to hang for 72 holes. The PGA annually invites 20 PGA pros that qualify via the PGA Professional Championship every year for the tournament as a perk for teaching and club pros. Hardly ever do we see one make the cut and never have we seen a club pro break into the top 10 of a major. And there we have Michael Block finishing up with a T15, guarantees himself a spot in the 2024 PGA Championship of Valhalla. His hole in one on Sunday at the 15th, that was magical. I mean, it just flew right in the cup. It wasn't a bounce, hop, roll in. No, he flew it right in the jar. And then to top it off, he makes that difficult up and down at the last to stay inside the top 15. What do you think about Michael Block?
He is an amazing individual, 46 years old, a little long in the tooth for a club pro to even make it to the PGA Championship, but he's been there before, 70, 70, 70, and again, one less shot, he would have 470, shoots 71, only 2 shots different than what Rory McIlroy. So he's a horse for that course, and then of course he got the invitation we saw live on television going to I think it was taped. He's going down to Fort Worth to play in the old Colonial. I can't remember the actual name of the sponsor, but he's headed to Hogan's Alley, and let's hope he makes the cut and contends. If he goes top 10, he's into the next tournament. So
yeah, I got to feel it. I got to feel he's going to run out of gas. He'll be lucky to make the cut probably in Houston, but
yes.
in Fort Worth. But yeah, it'll be fun to watch him. He's a crowd favorite. Very seldom do you see someone outshine Rory McIlroy and Michael Block was by far the fan favorite at Oak Hill. Speaking of Oak Hill, Mike, got to see a lot of the golf course, the Donald Ross design that Andrew Green renovated in 2019. Of course, I've had the chance to talk with Andrew. He also did the renovation at Inverness. He's doing the one at Scioto Country Club in Columbus. He is the man. If you've got a Donald Ross course and you want to bring it back to the original specs and maybe even a little bit better than what Donald did, Andrew Green is the guy. He does a remarkable job. I'm hearing nothing but kudos. Bill Harmon, who caddied on tour, he's he's brother of Butch Harmon, son of Claude Harmon. His brother Craig was a long time, 42 years was the head professional at Oak Hill. So he's got really close ties there. And he was saying today on a Facebook post that the work that Andrew Green there to get rid of some of the other holes that Fazio did and make it get back to the Ross original is just a phenomenal job. And I don't know if you noticed, but a lot of those greens are set up a little bit, typical Ross kind of style. And it's a rolling golf course, so you see a lot where the tee is elevated, you hit down in the valley, and then you hit back up to the green. And the bunkering on there, very steep bunker faces. They were very difficult for players all week. I just thought that Oak Hill looked phenomenal on TV. And Saturday with the rain, it was nearly impossible to break par. And then Sunday, you had perfect conditions, and there were, I think, 565 shots. So it could be had, especially on the back nine. There was birdies to be made. But Mike, I thought the golf course looked phenomenal, and 9 under for 4 rounds for 72 holes. That's not that much under par. Do we really need to roll back the golf ball? And what do you think about Oak Hill?
Well, I think that what's interesting, when Oak Hill was awarded that championship, it was scheduled to be in August, as that event has been in August for a number of years. And then they moved it to May. They were a little concerned. Would it look green? Would it blossom quick enough? And the grounds crew did a great job of showcasing the redesign. I often think when these courses are redesigned, why did we even go away from the original design? Donald Ross was a pretty good architect. He knew what he was doing. And I don't understand these modern thinkers who go away from it. And then we have to spend more money to go back to what we originally had. So good for Andrew. And I know he'll do good work with Inverness and Scioto and other courses around the country. But one final thought on Michael Block.
Yeah.
That roar for that hole in one was so long and loud. I wonder what the other players in the course were thinking, like what happened there? And it just kept going on and on.
Yeah, it was really a popular thing. And then when he got done, he made that putt on 18, and the crowd went on and on and on cheering for him. It was just really phenomenal stuff. But did you notice too on Oak Hill? So the green would be sitting up here, and it really have a steep space on it, and then have this chipping area down below, and it could be like maybe 5, 6, 7 feet lower than the green. I mean, that's really hard to negotiate. And a lot of the courses will shave that, that hill and make it a slope rather than a steep thing like that. And then you saw guys trying to get up there and they leave it in that tall grass. And then now they're looking at a tremendously difficult shot out of the tall grass just to keep it on the green. So it was not playing easy by any stretch of the imagination. Let's talk about some of the others, Mike. Let's talk about Rory McIlroy. He was, he's always a favorite coming in, right? He's always got to be one of the guys everybody's looking at. But once again, we saw him being very inconsistent. I mean, Mike, he hit some wedge shots that were beyond belief. They were that bad. Just another disappointing finish in a major. I mean, I can count. I know at least I saw him hit 5 bad wedge shots, and I'm sure he hit more than that. But I mean, that's not acceptable. He had 3 birdies on Sunday. He had 3 birdies on the front side, but then, right away he made 3 bogeys. He scored well in the back, but just by then he had way too far to go to catch Koepka, and he finished okay. But T7, it's another top 10. But Rory is not being consistent enough. What do you think?
Oh, I totally agree. The guy has as much potential as anyone and he's as talented as anyone we've probably ever seen, but his mental game and his sharpness is not where it needs to be. Again, with all those mistakes, he's top 10. I'm sure he can go back, and we're looking at what happened on Saturday and Sunday. I think there were similar errors that we've overlooked on Thursday and Friday, and if he can be as mentally strong as Koepka, then we probably would be talking about him as the winner and not Brooks. But Brooks has got a strong mental game, great physical game. There's no one more talented and hit the ball longer and straighter than Rory, but when it comes to 100 yards or 130 yards in, it's a bit of a crapshoot, and I don't know why.
Rory McIlroy and Dustin Johnson, Dustin with 2 majors and Rory with 4. I mean, that should be like illegal in some states. I mean, these guys are way too good. They should be approaching 7, 8, 10 majors. And, they're both in their 30s now, so they got to get it in gear. I mean, Johnson to get up with the elites of the golfing world, he needs to get it in gear. He's made a lot of money. He's married to Paulina. I guess that should be major enough, right? I don't know. So leaving that alone, let's talk about Jon Rahm a minute. John, of course, won the Masters. He's, playing at a very high level. Did not have a great week at Oak Hill. And I really thought the golf course would set up well for him. I really thought he would be a factor there. Of course, Rahm beat Koepka at the Masters. He finished T50, Jon Rahm did. And but I got to say, he did a pretty credible job commentating for a while on the broadcast. What'd you think?
I was impressed. I saw the headset on him, and I was curious why that was there. And then Amanda indicated that he was going to join us. But I wonder if Rahm is beginning to hit a wall. He just was not as sharp as he was at Augusta on the greens. The putts were just missing. And, ever since he won that U.S. Open at Torrey Pines, he's been on everyone's radar screen. He's probably been a man of demand off the golf course. And I think he just needs to get some rest and get sharp for those last 2 majors in L.A. next month and the Open in July.
Let's talk a little bit about Scotty Scheffler. You remember him? I think he's the #1 player in the world right now. The bad weather on Saturday really seemed to have a negative effect on Scotty Scheffler. He posted a 75, and even though he carded a 65 on Sunday, it just wasn't enough. He shot himself out of the tournament on Saturday.
I think the wet conditions on Saturday really impeded his ability to get a good, strong footing. He was dancing around out there, and again, he didn't give up. I give him credit. He made himself relevant, and had Brooks stumbled a time or two, we would have had a playoff possibly. But Scheffler needs dry conditions. When it gets wet, his ability for a good foundation is a little bit in question, and he pays the price. But he really didn't make too many putts outside 15 feet. Everything inside 15, he was knocking in pretty well, but you've got to make a fair number of 15, 20, 25 footers to win these majors.
Viktor Hovland, only 25 years old. His last 3 majors, Mike, T4, T7, and a T2. 3 top 10s in the last 3 majors he's played in. He has a solid all-round game. His chipping, his short game was a little suspect early, a couple years ago, but he's worked on it. It's really gotten pretty good. And if he just makes a couple mistakes here and there, like that iron shot out of the bunker on 17 just killed him. If he can avoid a couple of mistakes, he's going to be hosting a major trophy soon. What do you think?
Oh, Victor's strong. I've been a fan of his for a while. And again, those 3 top 10s in the last 3 majors, being in the final group, he's trending the right direction. He'll most certainly be on that European Ryder Cup team in Italy. And
he could very well be the main guy on that team.
Yes. So he had one bad shot that resulted in that plug lie, and those things happened to Corey Connors the day before, almost in the same spot. So I think he leaves Oak Hill with a high level of confidence going to LA, and he might well win in LA. I would be shocked if he's not at least top 5.
You keep putting yourself in those positions. I mean, sooner or later, you're going to win one of these things. Let's talk about a guy. You remember this guy? I don't know, Bryson DeChambeau. You remember him? he proved he could still play a little bit, but made a few too many unforced errors over the weekend, especially on Sunday. Couple of wedges flew the greens. Distance control with his short clubs still seems to be an issue with him.
But he's getting used to a new body again. He seems to be in body number 3. He had his original shape, then he got bulked up, and now he's lost a little bit of weight. But I think television doesn't really do justice to the small margin of error between success and failure at these tournaments. And we're so used to seeing guys pepper the pin, and when they miss the green, it's not because they're really being losing their focus. It's very difficult, and they're humans, and things happen. The line may not be perfect. Winds can come out of nowhere at the last minute, and again, he's probably trying to figure out how his body's going to react. And he had a good week. He also leaves with a high level of confidence, and going back to the U.S. Open, which he won a few years ago. That was at Winged Foot, but this will be in L.A. So Hovland and DeChambeau are trending in the right direction, and they look strong.
You know, you make a good point. Winged Foot and Oak Hill are similar kind of golf courses. You know, old style, hilly, with difficult greens and bunkering. So, you know, there you go, horses for courses. You know, DeChambeau won at Winged Foot, and Oak Hill is a very similar style course. Let's talk a little bit about defending champion, two-time PGA champion, Justin Thomas. He finished T65 clear near the bottom of the field. And I have to tell you, I really didn't see him much on the weekend. What happened to Justin Thomas? Do you have any idea?
I think he puts a lot of pressure on himself. He wants to be as good, if not better, than Spieth. And I think he's now approaching 30. He may be 30 right now. You know, really, he's had a great career. He's won, I think he's won a tour championship. He's definitely won 2 majors, PGA. And I think that
players.
Yeah, he's won a player. So if he just takes stock of what he's done and sort of appreciate that and gets in a more relaxed state, I think he'll be better moving forward. But again, last year he sort of backed into that win because of the mistake by the leader in the last hole, but still he won the event.
Mito Pereira, yeah.
Right. That'll be a shot he'll never forget.
And then he won in playoff over Will Zalatoris too. So
exactly. So it's that happens sometimes. Tom Watson won a major at Troon, I think, by the back door because of Nick Price failing down the end. But I think Justin Thomas is a talented player, world class, and can hit it a ton. And he's still got a good 10 years to pick up 3 or 4 more majors.
We talked a little bit about Dustin Johnson earlier. He finished T55. He was 4 over 74 on Sunday to finish +9 for the week. Not his best week. Just didn't look like he had it. Didn't look like maybe Oak Hill kind of fit his eye that well. Any thoughts on Dustin Johnson?
I thought Dustin would do better than he did. Of course, he's won a couple of times on the LIV Tour in recent weeks, and he's won a U.S. Open at Oakmont, which is a tough course. Oak Hill's tough, and I was a little shocked that because he was a big topic of conversation. He and Brooks. I must say, I was with a group of golf journalists in Georgia last week, and they were asking me on Monday and Tuesday. They said, "Who's going to win?" I said, "Brooks Koepka," and I've got eyewitnesses to that. And they kept asking me. I said, Brooks Koepka. My dark horse was Tommy Fleetwood, and he had a good tournament as well. So the pressure's on for me to pick the winner of the U.S. Open. I'll make that disclosure in the coming weeks.
I got a feeling I know who it's going to be.
Yes.
Hey, let's talk a little bit about, once again, the LIV guys that played in the major, Brooks Koepka, Bryson DeChambeau, Cam Smith, and Dustin Johnson, to name a couple of them. You know, Cam Smith had a top 10. He ended up T9. You know, they played pretty well. And those Cam Smith, Koepka, and Dustin Johnson, they are by far the 3 best players on the LIV Tour, without question. So, you know, what does it say about the LIV? Well, it says that they got some pretty good players over there, that's for sure. And it says there that maybe maybe we need Brooks Koepka and we need Dustin Johnson on the Ryder Cup team. Any thoughts about Zach Johnson, the Ryder Cup captain, picking Koepka and DJ to be on that U.S. team?
Well, I have not looked at the Ryder Cup standings, but I know that I think the points double for a major, if not more. And of course, Brooks had second at Augusta. He won the PGA. He probably is going to finish top six. Plus, he's got two more majors, which I fully expect him to compete, make the cut, and probably make a run for the top. And I'd be shocked if Brooks does not qualify in the top six on his own. As for DJ, I think he needs to do a little bit better in the next two majors, but he would be a great addition to the team. And if he could at least get top 10 on points, then that would be justification for Zach Johnson, picking him. But I think Koepka's in. He wants to play, and I think Koepka will. The only problem with the Ryder Cup is that there's a live event that finishes the prior Sunday, so I think they're committed to playing that. Then they'd have to catch a plane to Rome and be there Monday morning or Monday afternoon at the latest. And I think that Mr. Johnson would love to have his team there a little earlier, but when Brooks shows up, he'll be wearing red, white, and blue. He won't be wearing live. He won't be wearing PGA Tour. It's all USA. And he's like Superman. How can you go to battle without Superman?
Yeah, I know Zach is being very non-committal on those two guys, but I just don't. I mean, you got to have these guys. You still want to see the best players, right? And if you got these guys coming over and playing well in the majors and still maintaining some kind of a world golf ranking number, even though they're not getting points for the tournaments they're playing in right now, you still have to take that into consideration. So I know I was telling you earlier today that, just for the people that are listening, the PGA and the PGA Tour are two separate entities. They're not the same thing. The PGA of America are the club professionals, and they own the Ryder Cup along with the DP World Tour, the European Tour. And so together, matter of fact, the Ryder Cup every 2 years basically funds the European Tour. The money they make there has carried them over the years through that down year into the next year. And so we know that the PGA Tour bought a chunk of the European Tour during COVID to keep them alive, to keep them going. They put about $90 million into that tour. And Jay Monahan sits on the board of the European Tour. PGA Tour doesn't have anything to say to the PGA about who they can pick for the American team. Doesn't really matter. But they do might maybe have a say in European players or the players that are going to be on the European Tour. And maybe through that, they can make a big deal about if they take LIV guys on the American Tour. So I don't know that any of that will come to fruition. I think the PGA Tour would look pretty small if they did that, if they forced that hand. But I'll bet there's being a lot of conversations in the back rooms about, having Dustin Johnson or Brooks Koepka or both of them on the Ryder Cup team.
One point that's worth making that's been a tradition that I think has been started about 30 years ago, but for years in the Ryder Cup year, the winner of the PGA Championship, if he was an American, got an automatic spot on the Ryder Cup team. And I think that started around when John Daly won. John never made it on that Ryder Cup team because they had changed the selection criteria. But historically, and I think if you look at most Ryder Cups, if whoever won the PGA Championship usually did end up a spot in the last 30 years on that team. So precedent in history in the side of Brooks Koepka. Plus, he's a three-time winner of the PGA Championship, and he's top 15 in the world now. And he will go there, I'm sure, with a very neutral mindset, and it will just be focused on red, white, and blue USA.
Did you see? I didn't write it down. Did you see that Koepka, Michael Block? I didn't write it down. He went from like 3,240 something in the world up to like 544 or something. He moved up like 3,000 spots by finishing top 15 in the PGA Championship.
I saw
Mike,
that, and if
that's
he does well at Colonial, he'll go even higher.
yeah. With the money that he got, it wouldn't take him much if he finished top 10 or something. He could maybe get a temporary special exemption into the PGA Tour. Mike, that's about all the time we got for today. I really appreciate you being here to talk about the PGA Championship and your buddy Brooks Koepka, and what a great win for him. It was a really good tournament. I could have done without all the rain and the cold on Saturday. I don't really like him seeing him struggling and making all those bogeys, but I really did enjoy watching on Sunday. It was a really good event.
Countdown to the U.S. Open is now underway.
You got it. And we'll be talking about it as we work up to it. So thanks again for watching another episode of the Back Nine Report. We hope to see you next time. Thanks a lot, everybody.